You're listening to an encore presentation of Life Talk with Wade Sorochan. Highlights of previous shows featuring special guests and open line discussions. Since this is a pre-recorded presentation, please do not call. And now, Life Talk with Wade Sorochan on AM 930, The Light.
And welcome back to the program. Well, our kids are back to school, and the education system is letting us down when it refuses to flunk students. The routine practice of promoting poorly performing students to the next grade instead of failing them when necessary is teaching kids that success comes without effort. That's according to a new study. Because the Canadian education system is focused on self-esteem at the expense of academic achievement, we're being saddled with more functionally illiterate and innumerate high school grads, according to this hard-hitting report. Clearly, social promotion undermines the meaning of and value of a high school diploma by sending the message that mastering academic standards is not required for high school graduation, says the paper by the Frontier Centre for Public Policy. The co-author of this study is Michael Zwagstra, Manitoba high school teacher. He says the concept of social promotion and the watering down of standards has only gotten worse. Promoting undeserving students is widespread because school boards put more emphasis on personal development and good citizenship than basic skills like literacy. He believes we're being too easy on students. And he joins me on the phone line from Manitoba. Michael, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Michael, obviously this is something that is not new. We've been talking about this for years, but according to your study, we're hearing more and more now from, let's say, university professors are saying they're seeing the results of this. So tell us more about that.
Well, we certainly are seeing the results of it, and some of the evidence for it is that universities all across the country are implementing remedial math and English courses for their first-year students because they're recognizing that many of the students who are graduating from high school don't have the necessary skills mastered in order to be able to be successful at university. So it's certainly a symptom of a significant problem.
See, when I was growing up in grade school, there was no option. If you didn't do the work, if you didn't understand it, you flunked and you repeated. Things
have changed a lot over the years and has to do with a different philosophy in education, one that I think is mistaken. But this philosophy in education, as you had cited in the introduction, places greater emphasis on the self-esteem of students. And the argument is made that if a student fails a grade, that is a serious damage to their psyche and such, and that's going to cause irreparable harm. So it's better to promote them with their peers than to hold them to academic standards.
Well, but I'm thinking, I mean, how good is it for their self-esteem if they don't understand the curriculum and they're moving on to the next grade? That can't be good for their self-esteem either.
No, I don't believe it's good for their self-esteem, especially because true self-esteem is based on achievement, on accomplishment. You should feel good about yourself when you do things that are worthwhile. Students know full well when they're promoted and they don't have the necessary skill set because they struggle in the grade that they're in because they don't have the ability to do it. So no, it's a very, I believe social promotion is a short-sighted policy. It's mistaken, but it's deeply entrenched in the system.
You're right, it is deeply entrenched, and I don't see us really going back because there is a lot of belief out there that it is best for the student to put them through. But so studies like this, are you getting an ear from anybody, or even parents looking at this going, maybe they're right?
I have been interviewed on quite a few radio stations the last few days. I've heard a lot of feedback from people that have read the column that I wrote to support my report. And overwhelmingly, I'm hearing from people that they want to see change, that they don't want to see social promotion continue. The problem is that the education establishment and real life are completely disconnected from each other in so many levels that many of the people who run the school systems have a completely different philosophy than the people who send their kids to that school system.
Interesting. I was reading something yesterday about how, I think it was in Manitoba, maybe you can correct me, there was a parent who had a daughter or son or whatever, and she wanted them to be held back, and the system says, oh, no, we don't believe in that, and she actually had to go to a different school.
That was a parent in Saskatchewan, but that was not the only one that was just one person who had called in on a show that I'd been on that had told her story. But I heard from other parents that day and the day before in other schools that had the exact same thing, that they knew that their kid was not passing, that their kids, for whatever reason, didn't have the skill set to go on to the next grade, and they literally had to fight the school in order to retain their kids in the grade, and usually the school system wouldn't allow them to do so.
That's mind-boggling. I mean, who knows best for the child, the parent, the school. I mean, ultimately, the parent should know what's best for their child. So if a policy is a policy, so what do you? I think you don't recommend that. We change the policy completely and just flunk everyone. I think you're looking at case by case study, right?
Absolutely. I would like to see some balance. There are circumstances where, let's say, you have a student who's in a lower grade that is close to passing, but didn't quite make it, but they've put in a lot of effort throughout the year, and the parents say that they're going to work with them over the summer to bring up to level, and the teacher believes that they're able to succeed. Well, then by all means, there's a case to be made for promoting them, even if they didn't quite meet the standard. So I'm certainly not saying that if you hit 49.9%, you flunk no matter what. We need flexibility here. We need to be reasonable. And frankly, the social promotion policy that we have now is not reasonable because it never allows for the possibility of grade retention. It's a pendulum which is swung completely to one extreme.
And I'm sure there's still schools out there who aren't part of this social promotion. But what percentage would you say of the schools are? Let's say even in Manitoba.
Oh, and in Manitoba, in the public system, virtually all. I'm actually not aware of too many exceptions.
Really?
In this province, it's just the other day. There were 3 superintendents of 3 major school divisions in the city of Winnipeg. They were asked on the radio. In fact, they were on just before I was, and they were asked about their policy on this. And each one of them was explicitly clear that all students move up the grade levels with their peers. They do not fail. They made that very clear.
Yeah. So, Michael, we're seeing the results, we're hearing the results from universities, whatever. If this continues down the road, where will we be 10 years from now?
Well, we will continue to be in a worse situation where we will have more students graduating from school and not having the necessary skill sets there, that will have continued to have difficulty at university and will have difficulty functioning in the workplace because they won't have remotely been prepared for what real life is like. In other words, that you need to actually be able to achieve things before you move on to the next level. And we see the symptoms of it now, and as the system continues to move in this direction, it will get progressively worse. I made this
equation yesterday on the program, how, in the workplace, let's say I'm a carpenter. If I don't understand the skill, my supervisor is not going to say, okay, Wade, go and build that house over there. It's like putting me through when I haven't really, understood how the house is built, but it's okay for your self-esteem. We want to build your self-esteem. Go build that house. Go do it. You can do it.
Absolutely. We believe in you. You can do it even if you actually can't do it. To me, it's a similar analogy would be that, a kid turns 16, they want their driver's license, and then we set up a policy that you automatically get your driver's license at age 16 no matter what happens on the driving test. We look at, both your example and mine, we hear those and go, well, that's crazy. Why would we ever do that? Well, why do we do that in our school system? Shouldn't a grade 12 diploma have more meaning than a driver's license or a certification and some other things? It should be a pretty significant thing. A diploma shouldn't simply be, well, you put 13 years of your life in here. We kept you in here even though you didn't do anything. Here's your piece of paper. It should be much more than that.
Of course. There's a lot of gratifying when you work hard for something. It's like, a parent that just buys their kid a car. Here's the keys of the car. No, you save up for that car for years and years, and when you finally get that car, you've earned it. So we're losing that.
Absolutely, we are. And when you consider the big deal that we make about grad ceremonies in grade 12, one thing that I've often said is it seems we're making a bigger and bigger deal out of something that means less and less. And because it really is true. Grade 12 diplomas are meaning less and less, and yet we seem to make a bigger deal about getting them. We've got to use some common sense here.
Well, yeah, and if we just think, we'll achieve stuff just because, that's not good. No, it's not just because. You have to work for everything in this life, for a job, for a good job, for a high-paying job, for a car, for a house. For a successful life, you have to work at it. It can't be just given to you. So if it's being given to you in the school system, just move through the system. Obviously, we are going to see the results. We are seeing it now, and it is going to get worse.
Absolutely, and we see the evidences of it already. And the arguments that are used in favor of social promotion really aren't that strong. But what a lot of educators will do is they will say that all the research supports their position. I've looked at the research. Some research supports their position. Other research does not. The fact is, education is not a hard science like chemistry and physics. The research can't tell us everything. There's a lot of subjective variables here, and so don't. I would say to everyone out there, don't allow any educator or principal or superintendent hide behind the argument that the research has proven that social promotion is the right approach. The research has not proven that. It can't prove it. It's a social science. Research is by nature more subjective in that type of area.
And basically what you're saying, you would like to see a balance, and you think the pendulum has swung too far one way.
Yes, I think that it's fully reasonable to say that there are some cases where we can promote a student who's borderline and other cases where they're retained, and we need a balanced approach.
Well, just to give you an idea, we had a web poll question, have the results today. Do you agree with some school boards' no-fail policies, which always promotes poorly performing students to the next grade instead of failing them? 77% said no, it waters down education standards. 23% said yes, it's good for their self-esteem.
Doesn't surprise me. Certainly from what I've been hearing from people, that's a common sentiment.
All right, Michael, very interesting study. Like I said, we've heard it before, but these things need to come up so that we can maybe look at it differently, and hopefully people will look at it differently, and wish you all the best. Thank you for being on the program today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Michael Zwagstra, he's a high school teacher and co-author of this new hard-hitting report on the negative effects of this no-fail policies in school, or the social promotion. And got hold of him in Manitoba.